Good morning and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Leah. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because we go over things that are true crime related and have some fun with some makeup. I have always found true crime interesting and something that other people find interesting as well. I didn't realize the fascination behind it, and that's how I got here. And so I'm not going to jibber jabber on too much, but I will tell you as a warning that some of these cases do have a lot of graphic details. I do try to not give over graphic details, but this isn't really something you're going to want your youngins listening to. I pick out a case that maybe someone has suggested to me or brought up to me in the past or present, and then I choose to go over it. The case that we're going to go over today is about the Pickton pig farm in Canada. A friend of mine from Canada actually brought this up to me, and they were like, why don't you think about doing this? And so here we are. I went through and did the research on this, and it was definitely interesting. It wasn't exactly anything that I thought it was going to be, except it does have pigs in it. So without further ado, let's go on and get started. I try to tell you what I'm using when I'm using it, but right now I'm just going to grab a little bit of tape, and I'm sure you've seen this trick a few times where people put tape on the sides of their eyes to guide. It's a very quick and easy kind of trick to get that really good sharp eye. You don't look cute while you have it on, so just ignore that. Plus my dark circles and all of that. But you just go ahead and just slap it on. You line it up, and depending on how high you want that angle, that's how high you're gonna put that tape. You're gonna angle that tape. I usually kind of angle it to the tops of my ears, and that's about it. I'll be using the Beauty Creations Dare to Be Bright base for my eyes, and this is in Ballerina Girl. I've never used these before, but I had them, and I have been wanting to use them. So why not now, right? So we're gonna go ahead and get started talking about the Pickton. I kept calling it Pinkerton. It's not Pinkerton at all. Wow, a little bit goes a long way with this. It is Pickton, the pig farm. And it really just kind of hovers around two brothers, but really mostly just one. But I will tell you about both brothers as we go on. Just a little bit about the one that isn't charged with everything. But he wasn't exactly super duper fantasticals either. Today we'll be using the One Size setting powder. And I've never used this before, but that's why I always get like the trial size to test it out. I've used other products by this same line, and they're really great. I just like to sit over the eye base. By setting over the eye base, you give it a nice smooth palette to blend on. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started on this like I've been saying. And we'll be using the LA Girl Hey Hey Big Hey palette today. We're going to start off, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our feature person, and his name is Robert William Pickton. He was born in British Columbia on October 24th, 1949, so he's an October baby, and obviously this is in Canada. Some names I'm going to completely butcher when it comes to this because I don't do very well with pronouncing these words that I'm not used to. So the name of the farm was Port Coquillium, something like that, and his father and mother ran it. It was a family farm. So it was like everybody was invested in it when it came to the mom, the dad, and the two boys. Two boys were named Robert and David. And the mom's name is Louise. I did not see the dad's name. I'm sorry. The mom, she actually was in charge of like the meat processing side of the company or the farm. So they didn't just have the farm, they also had where they would give, well, not give, but they would grind up the meat and to take things to market, you know, like take Piggy to market. Well, that's what they would do, and sell the meat. And it was pretty decent. They did pretty good. I mean, it was a big farm, so they did pretty good for themselves. In charge of taking care of the kids. It was a very, almost like your stereotypical mom takes care of kids and dad goes off and does the hard work and labor and all of that. So what would happen is the kids would go off to school and then they'd come home, but even before school and even before and after school, the kids had chores. Now this isn't uncommon, my kids have chores, but these kids had little to no playtime. Their life was the farm. Dad was like, okay, basically this is going to be you guys' someday. You need to work on it with me, right? So with that being said, like Mr. Robert, he would get tired of working and doing chores and everything around the farm. So what he would end up doing is he would end up taking naps or hiding in the dead carcasses of the hogs. Can you imagine the smell that he just was around from that? He didn't seem to mind it, but when he was going to school, it was like a thing that, well, people smelled. He stunk. So not everybody really wanted to be around him because not only did he hide in the carcasses, but, you know, he did a lot of chores, so he would get really sweaty around the farm. And he did not like to take showers. I wanted to look into seeing why, if there was a reason, and for some reason he didn't see a problem with this. But I mean, I really didn't see anything where usually when children don't want to take showers and stuff like that, it's because of abuse or something along those lines. But it didn't talk about that. I mean, it does say that he was really, really close to his mom. He loved his mama. But it didn't say, like, that he didn't like his dad. It was just kind of like he didn't have a really good relationship with his dad. But it didn't say anything like there was abuse in the home or whatnot that I could see. If you do find that, go ahead and list that below in the comments. I'm fine with that. So these children, they worked really, really hard in their life and on the farm. And interestingly, you know, this is obviously going to be a serial killer, true crime video. So most serial killers that I've seen, maybe not most, maybe like 80%, you know, they start off with animals, you know? They start off with animals. And I'm a huge animal lover, but not Mr. Robert. Robert loved animals. He did. He loved animals so much. And him being on the farm, it was great, you know. He actually related to the animals more than he related to people. So he had this little calf that he loved. And at about 11 years old, now Robert was 11, not the calf. The calf was still just like a calf. And if you guys don't know, like, veal is baby cow. So if you get like veal parmesan and stuff like that, that's baby cow. Just so you know. And so when Mr. Robert came home from school one day at 11 years old, his mom had taken this sweet little calf that he just loved so much and took it out to slaughter. This devastated Robert, just devastated him. He loved this little calf so much, and it just broke his heart. I mean, it was essentially taking out his pet and having it slaughtered. Anybody would be upset over that in their right mind. Not Miss Louise. She was running a business. She had to fill up orders and all of that stuff. So didn't bother her, not a bit. I'm going to go ahead and use this week.I essentials set. I have been looking at this stuff, and I had this and I just haven't used it. This is some really good eyeliner, and it comes with Duralene, and I've seen this used with different eyeshadows and things like that to make them into eyeliners, and so I was really excited about it. If you guys don't like me telling you what I'm using while we're doing the story, you can tell me in the DMs. Just be nice about it and say, hey, I'd rather you list it on the screen or list it down below. That would be great, kind of thing. But be nice. Okay, we like nice. Back to our story. So Robert wasn't really good with the ladies, okay? Needless to say, as time grew on, he wasn't good with the ladies. Not everybody's great with who they're trying to appeal to. But here's a little history on his brother Dave. Just a little snippet, a little snippy snip, okay? Just like tiny little bit. So on the evening of October 16th, 1967, his brother Dave, good old Dave, David, whatever you want to call him, I'm going to call him Dave, decided to take the family truck out for a joyride. He's 16, he wants to go out and have some fun. He's been on the farm, he's like, hey, I want a little break, okay? He does this, and he ends up seeing a young man that is from his same neighborhood, and his name is Tim, and he is about 14-ish, and he's just walking along the side of the road. I don't know if he just got off school or if he was just out hanging out, walking around, but there is not a lot of details to this, so there's speculation, but there's not the actual details. So when I say this, that Dave slammed into Tim on the side of the road. The truck hit him, okay? I don't know if it was on purpose or if it was accidental, okay? Depends on how wide the road was. If the road was really wide, then, what did he swerve, or did he lose control? Was he not used to driving? But he worked on a farm, so you'd think about he should know how to drive, because on a farm you're driving a lot of different tools, or a lot of different maybe farm equipment, so it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't know how to drive. So he slammed into this kid. A truck versus human, we already know it's not going to be a good thing. And sure enough, the young man was hurt. Now, with that being said, he was hurt, but he wasn't dead. And so Dave was concerned, and he went and, like any 16-year-old, would go get a parent. So he went and got his mom. Interestingly enough, Mama Louise was not all that concerned. Now, this is where things get even more hazy. We know that he went and got his truck fixed. His mom basically was like, go get your truck fixed, and that's how we're going to handle this, okay? But, if he hit him on the side of the road, where they find him doesn't make sense, okay? But this is a sketchy kind of family, it seems like, anyway, so we're just going to go with that. After just a short bit of time, people go out and start looking for this little boy. Tim was known around the neighborhood, probably a good kid or whatnot. And so people start looking for him, and not just a few people, but a lot of people start looking for him. And they end up finding him deceased in the swamp. So he was hit on the road, but he was found deceased in the swamp. Now, I don't know if the swamp was like right next to it, but he was found deceased in the swamp and had succumbed to the swamp, if you get what I'm saying. Like, the swamp had killed him or whatever. With that being said, I would have thought, like, she would have gotten help or whatever, but no. He's just like, go get your truck fixed, don't worry about it. Okay? Hey, Mom, no problem. I'll go do that. Mom handles the rest. Whatever. Okay? Well, because of the truck and the truck getting fixed, they do go, okay, well, he had something to do with it. You know, it gets some looks onto Dave. And he's like, all right, fine. This went down. But he doesn't narc out his mom. I don't know what it was, but this mom, she, you know, I mean, kids are loyal to their parents. And she took care of it, but she didn't get in trouble, okay? She might have come up and they sent him to juvie, but they didn't tell, like, he didn't tell on his mom. It just got found out. And I'm using the NYX glue, brow glue, for my brows. This is very handy. It's in a little wand. So Dave spent a little while in juvie, you know, hit and run type of thing. Yeah, you're going to spend some time in juvie. All right. Okay. Mama Louise, not so much. But that wasn't the end for Dave's little crime spree or whatever he did. He actually, in 1992, after he had done his juvie time, ended up getting arrested for sexual assault on a young woman that had come to his trailer in the farm. Or he dragged her to his trailer. I don't know. Everything's a little iffy with them, okay? That's Dave's little tap into his criminal fun. And we don't really... The rest of the story, yes, it includes them, but it doesn't speak a lot of Dave. Like, it doesn't really speak of Dave. He kind of, I guess, was there, but he wasn't involved in anything. I guess he learned his lesson or something, you know. In 1978, their father passed away. So Mr. Pinkton passes away. Okay. And the kids weren't really upset, or at least Robert wasn't really upset over it. But in 1979, his mom passed away, and that just devastated him. However, it left the boys with the farm. By leaving them with the farm, that left them with the opportunity. This is the Juvia's Place Ice Sculpt, Ice Shade Brow Pen. So they ended up selling some of it. They're like, okay, we don't need all of this. We're kind of tired of having to deal with it ourselves. So we're just going to go ahead and sell some of it. And they sold only some of it. They didn't sell like a huge amount, and still made $5.6 million off of the portion that they sold. So it gives you an idea of the mass quantity of land that they had. Now they saved the pig and hog situation, like the farm for them, and they also saved like the meat processing, because these were like lucrative and they were probably easy for them to run. And so they kept it, and they were like, okay, well, we'll just do this. And they decided to open what they called a non-profit, and I used that very loosely, and you will hear why. They created a non-profit called the Piggy Palace Good Times the Piggy Palace Good Times Society. So at this Piggy Palace Good Times Society, they had parties and dances, and they had like a warehouse in the on the farm that this is where they held those for. And they would sell liquor saying that for a fee we'll donate yada yada yada, you know, and it was just a back and forth. This is the Soft Focus Glow Drops by Rodile. And these parties turned out to be massive. Like, they were 2,000 people at times. 2,000. I mean, I've been to some concerts and things like that. But, and like a Magic basketball game and stuff like that. But, I mean, to have just a regular party with 2,000 people there, oh my goodness. I cannot even think about having that many people in one place. Like, it's just insane. Like, very drug filled. Like, it started coming out more and more. Like, lots of drugs. Some sex workers would show up. The girls from the Low Track. Those of you who are in Canada probably know what I'm referring to. But they would start coming out and just coming to this place. It was well known to have this. But they were supposed to be for charity. And as you can probably guess, nothing was going to charity. There was nothing going to charity. What it was is the money that they made off of these was recycled back into the parties. So they could just have bigger parties, more drugs, more sex workers. And this is the all-nighter face primer. And so they just kept recycling, and they just kept on going. The parties were just coming, the liquor was flowing, the sex workers were making their money and enjoying their time at the Piggy Palace Good Time Society. I can't ever think to say that, because is it just me, or does it sound a little silly? At one point in time, they had like, people wouldn't just come roll up on that place. They just wouldn't. It wasn't something like, hey, let me just roll up on the Pinkton farm. You just wouldn't, because they had like a 600-pound hog that would guard the place, and if people came up, it would like growl. I mean, 600-pound hog is pretty dang, intimidating. Now, these parties, they went on for a little while until a Miss Wendy Lynn showed up at the cops. She had claimed that she had been handcuffed by Robert and shanked. That's a pretty serious type allegation there, friend. And at one point in time, she did say that she was able to get the knife. Oh, I'm sorry about the sectioning sound, because you can definitely hear that. But at one point in time, she had gotten the knife away from Robert and actually stabbed him. I bet you that was a backfire. He didn't see that one coming. Like, oh crap. This woman just stabbed me. This did not go as planned. He was probably a little bit caught off guard there. His whole little stabby stab situation just went straight to her stabbing him. But she got in like one stab from what seemed to be in the records. And I believe they were at the same hospital, because she was picked up on the side of the road, and then she was taken to the cops after she was treated, or the cops showed up, but she told on him, and charges were filed against him, but they were dropped, and I'm not sure why. It doesn't really make any sense as to why they were dropped, but she was a known sex worker and addict. That maybe they didn't think she'd be a credible witness against him or whatever, but I don't really think that should have mattered. I just feel really bad for her, he just got away, with it. But with this going on, it did actually draw attention to the pig farm. And that ends up being an important thing. because this place needed some attention to be drawn to it, because things were sketchy, you know. Women kept going missing, and, you know, they keep having these parties. So when this was brought to the attention, they did end up shutting down the parties, because, let's face it, if you're throwing a party in a city or a state or whatever, and you want to say it's for charity, and it's not, people are going to have a problem with that. So because of their actions, the Pickton brothers, their actual party was shut down. They were like, nope, you're not giving us any type of anything for these. You know, you're not giving us any of the charitable profits. And it's supposed to be a non-profit society and all of this stuff. So they were like calling them out. And they were sued for zoning laws and distributing liquor without a license. I mean, they were just not having it. They were like, nope, you're not doing what you said you were going to do with this. So, yeah. At first, they weren't really thinking too much into this, even though Wendy had said, hey, look, this guy shanked me. Because there was another killer that had been stalking the women of Low Track, and I will probably cover him in another true crime. But yeah, he was out there lurking. So I think they just didn't think these boys or these men were that big of a threat, kind of thing. They just weren't that big of a deal. And so it took till they were shut down. So they got shut down because of the zoning and the suing and all of that. And they were shut down for for a little while, and then after 2 years they just shut down completely. They closed. And so no more parties or anything like that. It wasn't a charity. The charity was shut down. So the charity was shut down, you know, because they couldn't say, hey, yeah, we're doing this for parties and not donating things. They started getting like little tips about this charming little farm. So you would think that this is all shut down so nothing else is going to happen. No, that's not what happened at all. In fact, since it had been shut down, you know, things got a little quiet until someone who worked on the farm. Now, I don't know if you guys know about this, but, you know, usually there's hands on the farm, people who come and they help out, because farms are, you know, they're really big and they're hard to take care of, especially from the sounds of this one, of how large it was. So, there was a man, a Bill Hiscock. I can't say that right. Hiscox. Hiscock. Who worked on the farm. And he was like, hey, you know, I'm seeing some of these missing women kind of thing. And I've seen them here at the farm, and then they come up missing. So he was like kind of catching on to maybe this. I don't know. He was trying to throw out the red flags. So 2 years later, there was a firearm incident where they came looking to the farm for Robert. And Robert was already arrested for this crime. That's why he had been arrested, is he was arrested for this crime, and he was in the jail, but was released about the time this all kind of started happening. The officers show up and they start looking around, and they're like, this place is a whole lot bigger than it says, right? They have like this little map, and it's like, okay, we have this map, but we're walking around this place and there's a lot more to it than that's on this map. Which is another important thing, because, you know, when you're doing land evaluations, paying land taxes, it goes by your land. Well, and I'm going to be using the Luis Torres Beauty Creations face-to-face quad. Piggy. It's got a mirror in it, and those are colors. So that's what we're going to be using. Well, anyways, so they're looking around and they're realizing that there's a lot of belongings that seem to belong to these women. Maybe they were like in a picture or something, and they're like, these belong to women, you know, they don't belong to the two men that live there. And so they start looking through it, and these personal belongings date back to like 1978, and it's now 2002, and they're looking for all of this. And these women had been going missing. And let me tell you something about serial killers. Hi guys, you guys don't want to keep trophies. That always seems how y'all get caught. I don't understand. It's like you see it in the like crime videos like this and other ones, and even on like TV. Oh, they kept a trophy. They kept her necklace. They kept her bracelet. They kept a tooth. They kept something. That's how you get caught. That's how they, you know, it just seems like that's how they always get caught. So they were no different. They kept trophies. Well, not they. Robert kept trophies. And the trophies added up to like 33 missing women. But just because you have trophies of someone doesn't always mean like you have, like, if they turn up missing, that doesn't mean that you killed them, kind of thing. That's where they were going off of. During their search in May 22nd of 2002, they did find enough evidence to charge Robert with 2 first-degree murder charges. But this would be the start of multiple charges that were filed against him. The reason why they were able to place these charges on him is the fact that they had found actual remains. They had started finding remains, and of 2 particular women they found remains of. They found, they just found remains, so they were able to charge him with 2 first-degree murder. At some point in time during this case, there were 85 investigators on it. 85 just on this one case. It was like the biggest trial that was going, you know, when they did the trial, it was like the biggest murder trial in Canadian history. So as they were looking through this situation and, you know, the farm and everything like that, on October 2nd, so this was, you know, like I'm talking like May 22nd, 2002, and now we're in October of 2002. They were able to charge him with 4 more first-degree murders because of the DNA that they had found throughout. They found like remains in the freezer, like severed heads. They found remains in DNA in a wood chipper. And this is what led them to believe, and they found jawbones and some hair. But this is what they started realizing, is that Robert was like, either he was chopping it up or mushing it, or actually just feeding the entire corpse, or not corpse, if you get what I'm saying. Like he said he had fed them to the hogs, dead and alive. No wonder they had a 600-pound hog wandering around. Think about everything they was eating. But there are certain things like that they can't digest or whatever, and it's like, but they are known to be a garbage disposal. They will eat human remains, and that's how he was getting rid of the bodies so thoroughly. Like I said in the beginning, that the hog meat business was still up and running and going really well. And you can only imagine when people started realizing that it wasn't just pork that they were eating. Are you getting my drift here? Or I'll just spell it out for you. They were mixing the pork and the human together and selling it. Now I say they, but you know, probably the people who were working for them to sell the meat had no clue, right? If I knew that, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm out. You don't know me. You never seen me. I'm not doing this. And then straight to the police. Like, we're not even playing with that. We're going to the popo. We don't play around. So, yeah, we did that. So naturally, the health department had to get involved, and they got to check over the meat, and they were saying, like, if people did ingest in human meat or what they ingested, it wasn't contaminated with anything like diseases or anything like that. It was really well cared for and dispersed. With the method that Robert had chosen, even though there had been multiple victims, they were only able to charge him with 26 murders. Now, charging and convicted is different. So they charged him with 26, but good old Robert, bless his heart, he was real proud of himself. Let's just say he was real proud of himself. And he was in the cell, and he was just like talking. This is how they get people, you know? He was just talking to a cellie. He wasn't really thinking like, oh, anything of it. He thought the person like was just a cellmate of his, right? Well, it was actually an undercover cop, and he was in there just spilling the beans. He was like, oh yeah, I killed 49 women, and I really would have liked it to be like 50. It is on the internet if you want to look at it. The actual video is on the internet. But he was just super proud, except he was a little aggravated that he didn't get to the full, 50 or whatever, that he wanted, the nice round even number. Sorry for you, pal. So even with the confession, like the recorded confession, they were only able to convict him of 6 counts of murder, and they did not do 6 counts of first-degree murder. They did 6 counts of second-degree murder because of the fact that there were other people that were on the farm that gave reasonable doubt in the fact of, did Robert really commit all of these crimes himself, by himself? Physician's formula, mixologist. I really wanted to try this out. One side is lengthening, one side is volume. I'm going to go ahead and curl our lashes. In Canada, they have a max penalty of 25 years. And he did end up getting the max penalty of 25 years. Now, with that being said, 25 years is not a long time at all. I mean, he just openly admitted to murdering these people. And this is the Milani setting spray. So, as you know, he is probably going to be released in about 5 years from prison. I just can't imagine that they would only give someone who killed so many people 25 years and that's it. I would have thought life, death. It's not just that, but during the trial, like, he just smiled. When they brought out the stuff that he killed people with or dismembered them with, he just smiled. I'm glad he likes animals and all, but he has no regard for human life, like basic human life. And that's a problem. And I don't know if he's been a model prisoner or whatever, but they gonna let his butt out and just out into like community. It's just kind of blows my mind that they're just gonna let him out and he's just gonna be in the community like, hi, I didn't just kill 49 women. Maybe I'll get my 50th while I'm out. now, like before I die, maybe I'll get to give like achieve my ultimate goal. They didn't bring up Dave because Dave seemed to live in a different area of the farm. Like, they probably had their own houses and, you know, places to live, especially if it was being that it was a large farm, they had their own houses and buildings and stuff like that. So what one brother had going on, the other one didn't really know about. And this is the Wet n Wild Matte Mega Last Jack-o'-lantern lipstick. Thought it went nice with the whole orangey kind of thing. So the verdict was read, and it was read on December 9th of 2007. And he was convicted of 6 murders, but he on second degree, like I said, and given 25 years. So in 2007, if he was convicted of that, and there has also been, there's also been appeals that have been filed for him, but they have been rejected, thankfully. So he is to serve out his 25 years, which he only has 5 years left, and then he will be released into the public. How do you feel about that? You can leave your comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Even on Instagram, my stuff's linked down below or listed down below. But yeah, it was that was a special case. It's interesting. I'm sure as I continue to do more of these, it's going to be one of those things where I say that a lot, like, oh, that was an interesting case, or oh wow, that's a lot, you know, things like that. But this is a very fall type of look in a not fall type of weather. It's actually really cold here. But if you like this video and would like me to continue doing more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you really liked it, give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to, leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay awesome. Love you guys.